but I feel like I would probably never make or knit or crochet anything that is risque. We'll just say that. Hey everyone, my name is Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to episode 72 of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today is Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. It is a lovely day here in North Texas. Super hot, but can't really complain because I am indoors in the air conditioning. I have some finished items today. I have a collaboration, so lots and lots of fun things to talk about, tons of questions, so let's just dive right into it. I'm not wearing any knitwear today, I'm just wearing a dress. I love this color. I definitely would buy some yarn in this color. So today is a collaboration with two people, a couple all the way over in Australia, Mike and Anna from Stitchcraft and Wizardry. Mike and Anna live in Perth, Western Australia with their two daughters, where they say it is always hot and there are always kangaroos around. Together they run Stitchcraft and Wizardry, where they specialize in wood-turn crochet hooks, hand-dyed yarn, and are Australia's stockist for sheepskin. They are self-proclaimed super nerds and everything they do is themed. You're going to love their personalities. I will have all of their links down below. Anna has also been a tester for me and she is a wonderful, wonderful knitter. So be sure to go check them out. So much fun. We are both, all three of us, going to be answering your questions from Instagram in our episodes. So be looking out for their episode, which is going to come over the weekend, but go ahead and click on their channel and subscribe to them so you can see when their episode comes up. So thank you, Mike and Anna, for collaborating with me on this podcast episode. All right, so let's talk about finished objects. I have a few things that I have finished or half finished or finished a part of, and yeah, that's just kind of where my life is right now, trying to wrap things up. So what do we want to start with? So I have a finished sock. It's not a finished pair. I think this makes 4 half finished pairs for me right now, which is so weird. Usually I never start another pair of socks until I finish the pair, and right now I have 4. Super weird for me. So this is my Harry Potter, my Hufflepuff Helical Socks. So this is actually 2 different colors of yarn that I have blended together. I am planning to do a tutorial when I start the next sock, so that will be coming at some point. I don't know, it's gonna be a little while. But I did record a Kitchener tutorial when I closed up this toe, and I'm gonna put that, I believe, on Instagram sometime in the next couple of weeks. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I just had the toe to do last week, so finish it up, woven all of those ends. You know, you get tons of ends from doing the contrasting heels and toes. And then this is just sitting and waiting. So the reason I haven't started any more socks is I'm going to do my sock week survival guide, and so I've got, that's 2 of my unfinished pairs. So I've got Molly's yarn and Malia's yarn, and I've got 1 sock from each, and then I'm gonna knit the other one during my survival guide video. And then I started a pair of socks in May, I think a self-striping pair. I've got 1 sock and then 1 sock. So there you go, 4 half finished pairs of socks that I'm gonna hopefully wrap up here, maybe by the end of August. I feel like that's reasonable because we're more than halfway through July right now. And I have some other partially finished things this week. So last week I showed you my Big Dots tote, my Big Dots bucket, and I talked about making an insert. So this is going to be a design sometime down the road because right now I don't have any yarn to make other sizes, but I will be ordering that at some point. But I wanted to make an insert that would fit inside the bucket and divide it in half. And so that is what I worked on this weekend. So essentially it is a semicircle bucket that is not quite as tall as the bucket itself. And so it just fits right into here. And even when, hard to show, even when the bucket is folded down, you can't see it from the edge, but it is in there. Oh no, there's some hair in it. Ew, I hate it when that happens. But it is in there, and it divides the tote pretty much like perfectly in half. Hard to show it when I am holding it up like that, but it does make a straight line across the center here. So the reason that I am designing it this way, one, I wanted it to be different from my float totes, which are designed with cups inside so that you can have multiple skeins of yarn. This I'm designing as more of just a multi-purpose tote. So what I plan on doing with this is being a bag that I can carry around my house. I can carry with me when I go like visit friends, go to my mother-in-law's, but it's still divided. So in this part here, I can throw in like a whip pretty easily, and then it keeps my yarn tangle free from anything else that I might throw in here, like my iPad or sometimes I throw like, I don't know, just carrying stuff from room to room. I will throw whatever in this bag. So that really worked out well. So I've spent a little bit of time this weekend figuring this out, writing it up, tearing it out. And so now I just need to really order more yarn so that I can make maybe some variations or different sizes before this pattern is ready to get tested. So it's still really hard for me to hold up and show you, but I assure you this is a semicircle, not like a bean or whatever it's doing here. And it holds up quite well inside the bucket. So let me know what you think. Let me know what kinds of variations you would like to see as far as different sizes, like bigger, smaller, options for edgings and stuff like that. I like to include many different things in my patterns so that they fill not just like one pattern, but like a variety of patterns. Now for that, I used sugar and cream held double. This is all that I have left, and a J hook, just like my float totes. All right, and then the last thing that I finished up was another skinny can cozy. This is again one of my patterns that you can get on Ravelry and Etsy. It's my newest pattern actually. So skinny can cozy is for these little skinny cans, which are so popular right now. So here you go. I have some flavored water to show you what that looks like. It has its built-in coaster on the bottom. Super quick, super easy, great for using up yarn. You can do it self-striping or not. The choice is yours. Oh, but this yarn, I brought the yarn over. This is my Sock Week cozy, which I'm totally going to be drinking out of when I am knitting up my Sock Week socks. So this is the Malia Made It yarn. I believe there is still some in her Etsy shop if you want to go grab some before Sock Week, which is starting August 9th. Go grab some, but it made just the cutest little cozy. And I got this idea because when I made the first sock, I ended on this coral color, which is the first color that I used in the sock. And so I was like, okay, I can either pull off the next 9 stripes so I can get back to coral, or I can knit something with those 9 stripes. And so it takes 9 stripes to knit a cozy. I think I did make it a teensy bit shorter. You can make it a little bit taller, but all in all, that worked out pretty great. So very happy with that. I've been loving using these cozies. I think they're just super adorable and super cute. So I'm in a really weird place right now where I have no projects, like no whips on the go, really. Like I finished, in the last week I finished, or maybe last 10 days I finished my sweater, Lilium, I finished a design, I finished a sock, and I did a cozy, I haven't started anything new, but I do have a design halfway in progress. So that's what I worked on this morning because I literally have no other whips going right now. And that's intentional because I am planning to start my Sock Week socks, and then that will take up like all my knitting time throughout the day. So I don't know exactly where I was the last time that I showed this to you, but I am working on a fingering weight crocheted version of my Yarn Cozy Light. So it's so much fun crocheting with fingering weights. I love it. It's faster than knitting. I know crocheters sometimes feel like it's very scary to crochet with fine yarn, but it's not all that different. It's just smaller and takes a little longer, of course, than like a bulkier yarn, but it doesn't take that long. And it's nice to use up these, you know, beautiful hand-dyed yarns that you bought if you have some left over. So I'm working on my cute little crochet cozy. I'm getting really close to the top part. Oh, I didn't bring my other one down, but I'll just save it for another week. I do have a DK weight version of this that I've worked up, but these patterns are not released yet. So I have a lot of designs that I just need to like buckle down, sit down, write up, try out new versions, and get them ready to test, because I have so many ideas, but like half of design is communication, and you have to like communicate it and get it out there for other people to do it. But I have been enjoying just doing sweet little single crochet rows on this. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely more cozies coming in the future. So that's that when it comes to knitting and crochet, although I'm proud of myself for having knitting and crochet again this week. Yes, trying to always have some crochet projects going. I feel like I go back and forth between knitting and crochet a lot, but I do have tons of questions to answer this week, and they are so much fun, knitting and crochet related, and then also just some fun life ones. So let's get into those. But first, I wanted to do sort of a little introduction in case you're coming over here from Stitchcraft and Wizardry. So again, hi, my name is Natalie. I am a knit and crochet designer. I have a weekly YouTube podcast on on Thursdays, and I also typically do another video every single week, whether it's a tutorial or like a vlog or just something fun. And I host some make-alongs throughout the year, mostly Sock Week 2020 is coming up soon, but I am planning to have another make-along later this year. So there you go. I think that's the first that I have talked about that. So very excited to continue doing make-alongs. I don't know, I love building up hype and community around knitting and crochet because it's so much fun. But let's get into these questions that you guys asked on Instagram for myself and for Mike and Anna of Stitchcraft and Wizardry. You came up with so many good ones. I had a hard time narrowing it down to just 5, but here is what we've got. Number 1, what is a design/dyeing style that you would like to try, or what is your favorite method? So Mike and Anna will of course be answering the dyeing side of that, and I'm going to answer design because I don't dye yarn. So I'm thinking more, what is a type of thing that I would like to try designing? And I have always thought it would be fun to try designing a garment, but now I realize that that's probably not where I am headed. I think that what I am getting into for design is more practical pieces that have like a very specific use. Like I like to make baskets or cozies. Those seem to be the things that I am really into designing. I have also enjoyed making shawls, but I like to do things like different, like not like I want to do another shawl like my Louisiana Street shawl, where you start at the large end of the triangle and then only do decreases down. I just like to do things that kind of solve problems for us as makers, like what do you hate doing? Increasing all the way to the end of a shawl. Or I don't like having leftovers. I want to use them up into something cute and practical. So I don't know. I think just solving problems for knitters and crocheters is kind of where my design is going. So I don't know. I can't say I'll never do garments, but I don't know if that is my niche right now. So we'll have to see. I'm very interested to hear what kind of dyeing style Mike and Anna are going to talk about. I can't wait to hear that on their podcast. Next question is, if you could only make one knitted item for the rest of your life, what would you choose? My answer is really easy, and it is not socks. I would definitely, if I could only make one thing, I would make shawls for the rest of my life. And the reason is, with a shawl, you can do a zillion different techniques, stitch patterns. There's an infinite number of different things that you can be doing. So I feel like you would never get bored. And then also shawls can be so much fun as far as like color, style. Like I think I would never get bored making a shawl because there's just so many different things that I could do. I didn't want to pick socks because you're limited on socks. Like, it's a sock. And then garments are great too, but I don't know, you can only have so many. The colors, for me at least, I wouldn't make them as wild, but I think that's why I think shawls would be, for me, the best thing to make. Number 3, what is one thing you will never knit, crochet, or craft? So I try not to ever make never statements because I find that I will eat my words oftentimes, but I feel like I would probably never make or knit or crochet anything that is risque. We'll just say that. Like, there's some interesting items that you can make. People also make like bikini tops and things like that. I just think that that's probably something I'm unlikely to ever make because I wouldn't wear those items normally. So I wouldn't want to make those items. They're just not for me. So yeah, I can pretty confidently say never on that, but there are tons of things I've said never on that I ended up doing, so we can never be too sure. Okay, this one is really fun. So remember, Mike and Anna live in Australia and I'm here in America, in Texas. And so this question is, what is the best thing about living in America or Australia that you don't think the other country would think of? So I'm not sure if I'm supposed to answer this as like, what do I feel like the best thing is about my country? Or what do I think the best thing would be about Australia? So we're just gonna go for all of it. So I was talking to my husband, thinking about differences between Australia and America. And honestly, I don't know that much about Australia to really give like lots of differences besides the obvious thing of being like time zones apart and different geographical locations and accents and all of that stuff. But I guess I can talk about what I love about America that I don't think would be in Australia. And it's mostly just like, I don't know, small things like we have certain fast food places that I really would like miss if I ever left America. I don't know, it was hard to think of things. I was also thinking like from a yarn perspective, in America, it's pretty, like it's a really saturated market as far as like hand-dyed yarns go. So it's really easy to get hand-dyed yarn in America. You can also order it from like Canada and Europe very easily, whereas I don't know if that's the same for Australia. But I do know that there's also tons of beautiful Australian hand-dyed yarns that is equally hard for us to get here in the United States. Hard or expensive or taking a long time. So I feel like that goes either way. But then my husband and I were talking about differences in America and Australia, and he was saying that our Christmas music makes sense, which I thought was really funny because I always forget, like the Southern Hemisphere, we have opposite seasons. So when it's Christmas time, it's typically cold in the Northern Hemisphere. Not necessarily in Texas, but there is a chance. It is chillier. And you know, all of our Christmas songs are about being cozy and warm and a white Christmas. And I just think it's funny that in Australia, that's gonna be a warm time of year. I just can't even imagine having a super warm Christmas. That just seems like the Christmas movies wouldn't make sense. The Christmas music doesn't make sense. to that just kind of made me laugh. Some things I love about Australia that I know from a very limited, worldview is I love the reality shows that we have here on American Netflix that are from Australia. I am obsessed with Yummy Mummies. I think it's such a fun show. If you haven't watched that, definitely go watch that. And then I can't remember the exact name of it right now, but it's called Instant Hotel. That one is so much fun, and both of those shows were filmed in Australia. Love them so much. So I can't wait to hear what Mike and Anna say about that one and how they interpreted that question, but that was a really good one. Good job coming up with some super clever questions. Okay, the last one is, what is the hardest thing about working with your spouse? And then since I don't work with my spouse, mine is going to be like, would I want to work with my spouse or what? So Mike and Anna work together on their yarn dyeing business. For me, I don't work with my husband, Kent. However, we have both been working from home since March. He already works from home, but we don't work together like on the same business. But would I want to work with Kent? And the answer is yes, to a certain degree. I can really see my my lifestyle YouTube channel, which is separate from Knitty Natty, being something that we could work on together in the future when it becomes bigger. I don't know how much Kent can do on Knitty Natty, given that he is not a knitter or a crocheter, but on my lifestyle channel, we could definitely be working together to create, like actually I can see us making like vlogs together, him helping with editing when we do those kinds of like family vlogs. I don't know. I think that definitely has the potential to be us working together in some capacity. But we do work in the same place, technically right now, since we're both at home. And that's been really, really nice. I do not hate it. I love being home. I love seeing Kent during the day. I love seeing Toaster during the day. He's passed out in his dog bed right now. So working directly with him, I don't know, but I think it would be fun if we continued to like work from home together on a business in some capacity. I would definitely not say no to that. So I got a few other questions this week on Ravelry. If you ever have questions for me, don't be afraid to send me a message or to go to the Love and Stitches Ravelry thread and go to Ask Me, and you can ask me any questions. So this week I have a few. I actually got a message from Kate, who is Nervous Knits, and she said, I was watching your podcast on YouTube and I saw that you answer questions that you get on Ravelry, and I have a question about knitting lace. For some reason, no matter what I do, the yarn overs in my lace are so small I can't see any holes in the finished product. I'm a very tight knitter and I'm working with worsted weight yarn. I tried increasing my needle size from a 2 to a 10.5 American size, but it does not seem to help. How can I make my yarn overs bigger? And then she has one more question I'll get to in a second. Okay, so I have a theory that I think might be happening. So one way you can make your yarn overs bigger is, of course, like to knit looser. When you do that stitch after the yarn over, don't give it an extra tug. You should not be giving your stitches an extra tug at all when you are knitting, because you're gonna have really, really tight knitting. So try to break that habit. If you notice that you do your yarn over and then you go into the next stitch and you yank it, stop doing that. So that could be one thing, but my guess is that's not your problem. My theory is that something is happening to you that happened to me when I first learned to do lace knitting. So I was making something like a blanket square, and it had yarn overs going either way, or maybe it had yarn overs on the wrong and the right side. All of my yarn overs that I did on one side were great. There was a hole. All of my yarn overs on the other side were terrible. They were like so tiny you could barely see them. And I took it into a yarn shop. I think I was probably 14 or something, and they looked at it and they didn't know what the problem was. And that's because they couldn't see me actually knitting them. So I don't even know when I realized it. It might have been a couple of years later. I learned that I was actually getting all of the yarn overs after knit stitches perfect. Before knit stitches perfect. All of my yarn overs that were before purl stitches were disappearing. And the reason is that I wasn't doing them the right way. So when you're doing a yarn over, you need to make sure that you are bringing the yarn to the front and then to the back and then to wherever the yarn needs to be for the next stitch. So when you're doing a knit stitch, you just bring your yarn forward, bring your yarn back, and then it's in the back to knit. When you have a purl stitch, you bring your yarn forward, bring your yarn back, and then you must bring your yarn forward again in order to purl. So that's where I was getting messed up with mine. That's why my yarn overs were disappearing. I was neglecting to bring my yarn forward again to knit, and therefore my yarn overs were disappearing. So maybe that's your issue, but again, if it's not that, I have one more theory. Perhaps you are doing the yarn over the wrong direction. So when you knit into a yarn over, the row after, you should get a hole. A yarn over is an intentional hole. But if your yarn over is in the wrong direction, or even if you're, I just thought of this. If you're knitting the stitches backwards or twisting them, you are going to erase that yarn over. So if you don't go the right way, then when you knit that yarn over, it's going to twist it and close your yarn over and look like it's not even there. Same thing if you're doing the yarn over the correct way, but then you knit through the back loop, it's going to twist your stitch and it's going to go away. So for you, Kate, I would go on YouTube and I would watch people that knit like you do, so right or left-handed, do a yarn over and then do a row after that, and see what's happening to their stitches. Also, see if you're knitting through the front loops and not the back loops, because that would twist your yarn over and then go away. Anyway, lots of confusing words, but my theory is not that you're pulling too tight. My theory is that something is happening either with the way you're doing the yarn over or the way you're knitting it afterwards. It's erasing it. So good news, I don't think that this is unfixable. I think that we can fix it. So that's the first question. Lots of theory there. Her second question was, I was wondering if you know any good yarn crafts for kids that I could use in my kindergarten classroom. So I would say I've taught kindergarten. I taught kindergarten for 2 years, and I was always appalled at how few kids could use scissors and glue. So anything that uses like scissors and glue or requires like wrapping, you know, those like popsicle stick things where you make a cross with the popsicle sticks and then like wrap the yarn, they could totally do that. You're probably not going to have success teaching a kindergarten class like as a whole to knit or crochet, but potentially in small groups you could teach them to finger knit. I don't know how to do it, but I'm sure YouTube does. So maybe finger knitting, or maybe anything where they can just like cut yarn, glue it onto things, like get messy, whatever, it doesn't matter. Kids a lot of times come into school and they haven't had the chance to like explore and make messes, and so they kind of need that. They need the mastery of like using scissors properly, using glue properly, like arranging things. If you're looking to make it academic, then you could like have different colors of yarn, or you could have like letters drawn out and they could like cut yarn and then like glue it along the lines of the letter A or whatever. I think that'd be really fun. So hopefully that's a good suggestion. Let me know if you want more. All right, the next question is about socks. This is from Nameless Gal Friend. In terms of sock knitting, when it comes to making socks that are longer than Shorty Socks, how do you keep them from falling down when you wear them? I made my first long pair recently, which is to say they're the length most knitters make them, and they're blocked and fit my foot perfectly, yay. But they do tend to slip down my leg if I'm walking. Do I need smaller needles for ribbing? Do I need smaller needles or less stitches for the leg? Is it just an unfortunate occurrence with longer socks? Please and thanks. Okay, so I don't think it's just a longer sock thing, although it is interesting that your short socks stay up and your long ones don't. But there's several things that you can try. So the first is, when my socks are falling down, I find that it's not always the leg. I find that it's the heel. So I love the Fish Lips Kiss heel. I really truly do. It's fast, it's easy, it looks sharp, but it is not the best heel for everyone's foot. And so if your socks are always sliding down, it could be that you need to adjust the type of heel that you're using for something that maybe has a larger cup or larger like instep, so that it fits your foot better. But if that's not it, there's a few different things you can do for the leg. One thing you could do if you're knitting socks either way, toe up or cuff down, is you could have fewer stitches on the leg than you do on the foot. So if you're doing a sock toe up, you could, do the 64 stitches for the foot, knit your heel, and then after that you could like decrease by 4 stitches so that your leg is a little tighter. You could also just change to a smaller size needle for the leg if you don't want to adjust the stitch count. Either way, you're getting a tighter leg. And then if you're doing cuff down, you'd cast on fewer stitches, knit your leg, knit your heel, and then add stitches for the foot if needed. I mean, knitted socks can be totally custom, so do what works for you. You could also change the type of stitches you're using on the leg. So instead of doing stockinette, which is very, like, it doesn't have really great clinging properties, you could do a leg that's all ribbing. Or you can make your cuff, instead of making it just like 10 rounds, make it 20 rounds. So you have more fabric that is doing that clinging bit. So there's a ton of different things that you can do. It seems like you're on the right track, asking the right questions. Now it's just a matter of experimenting and figuring out what works for you. All right, last question. This one is from Sarklock, I think is your username. I have decided I am going to learn how to knit. I really want to be able to knit socks. I have been practicing on a pair of metal, maybe aluminum, straight needles, but I cannot stand the metal on metal noise, like the noise you get when you use a metal spoon to mix something in a metal bowl. Do all metal needles do this? I am looking to buy another pair, but I am wondering if I should avoid metal ones completely. Okay, so in my experience, metal needles do not always do that, but I know what you're talking about with those straight metal needles. They probably are aluminum, but the reason that they're doing that too has to do with the coating, and then also they're probably hollow. So straight needles, especially of a certain size, are hollow in the middle. And so you're not just getting the scraping of the outside, you're getting like the reverberation of that space that's in the needle. So I love wooden needles for almost everything, but I do like metal needles, especially when it comes to socks. These are the Chigu red lace needles. You can get them probably at your local yarn store, but they're also super accessible because they're on Amazon and they are not hollow, or at least I can't tell. And then there's a different kind of like, I don't know, there's a different coating, I think, on it. I'm not sure if they're made of aluminum, or maybe I think they're nickel plated. I think a lot of metal needles that are sold in yarn stores as opposed to craft stores are nickel plated, maybe a little higher end than just a regular craft store needle. And they do not have that same feeling or sound. So I would definitely give metal needles another try. You can try Chigu. I know Knit Picks makes a metal plated needle, but the aluminum straight needles, they're hollow. They have this coating on them, the colorful coating. And yeah, it is not a great feeling. I do not like that. I think that being a new knitter, you've tried straight needles. I think it's time to try circular needles. So even though the needles are connected, you're still going to use them the same. I have some tutorials. I'll try to remember to link that shows how to knit back and forth on circular needles. You treat it the same, but it is kind of like, wait, my needles are attached now. Which one's the right one? Which one's the left one? So I'll try to remember to link that so that you can see that in action, or I'm sure there's tons of other tutorials out there, but give metal needles another try. But also try out wooden needles. You might love wooden needles. I tend to prefer metal for sizes US, like 0 to 3, and then sizes 4 and up, I tend to use wooden needles. So it's just a matter of preference, but right now, don't buy a set, just buy needles probably as you use them, or like as you need them, and try out different materials and see what works for you. And then when you find a needle you're happy with, if you're still loving knitting, grab a set. That's definitely the cheapest option. I loved all of those questions. Thank you for asking so many good questions from week to week. It gives me something new and interesting to talk about. So let's go into news. I have a new video this week. It is a sock drawer tour, plus like a lot of other stuff going on in the video. So I'm taking you through like all of the socks that I've ever made. I am washing my socks. I'm sorting out all of my other hand makes, my shawls, my garments. I have like a little fashion show. I show you how I wash them and block them and store them away. So it's a really fun little vlog video. I'll have it linked. Go check it out. And then this coming weekend, I'm planning to do a live video. I'm going to do it on Sunday, I believe at 1 p.m. Central Time. So it will be here on YouTube. Look out for it. Look out for more information on Instagram. But yes, planning to do a live video this weekend. And then I'm not 100% sure yet. There's a chance that I am going to take a break next week from my bonus videos. I believe I'll still have a podcast, but again, I'll update you on Instagram. I'm just thinking about taking a break, getting some sock week stuff finished, and then we're celebrating our anniversary this week. So just taking a little time off, but I haven't fully decided like how I'm gonna do that and how it will change the videos. So, but I will always keep you posted. Sock Week 2020 is a sock knit along. Details will be down below, but it is coming up August 9th, and I'll just keep reminding you every week. Once we get closer, I will start sharing more details again, and I will also have my survival guide video, so be on the lookout for that. Okay, as far as life goes, this weekend we went back to the lake with some friends. I don't know if you could see my arm here, but this is actually a sunburn. I don't know how that happened because I put on sunscreen religiously. Like, I would get out of the sun every 30 to 45 minutes, take a break from the sun, put on sunscreen. I mean, I still get burned. It's just the way that my skin is. So yeah, I guess I was really bad about putting it on right there in particular. So I got a sunburn. Not too bad, but still, I hate getting sunburned. I feel like irresponsible when I get a sunburn because I know that I can prevent it. So such is life. That is just the way that my skin is. But we did have lots of fun. I did quite a bit of like YouTube work while we were out there, but I got to do a little bit of knitting and crochet that I showed you. Since we've been home, I haven't done much. But I am planning to get, like if I'm taking a break, which I kind of am planning, I'm going to hopefully get more knitting and crochet done from this part of the week on to the beginning of next week. We'll see. I'm not 100% sure what I'm gonna do there. And then as far as school goes, if you don't know, I am a teacher. We are still not 100% sure what's gonna happen for the school year, but our county has mandated that kids do not go back in person until September 8th, and school starts on August like 11th or something. So it looks like we will have virtual learning, but we don't know what the teachers will be doing yet or when we will be required to go in person. As of right now, I know that I will be starting back to work on August 3rd. So I have like 2 weeks left, which is another reason why I'm thinking about taking a break before getting back into work full time. I would really love, for many, many reasons, to continue working at home. So we'll see. I'm just preparing and waiting and doing the best that I can. I think that's all that we can do right now. Bringing me joy this week, my yarn room is like finally complete. I received my baskets since last week when I did my yarn tour video. I'll have that link too if you want to go check it out. But I received the baskets that go on the bottom shelf down here. And then yesterday, just last night, we finally sold a huge entertainment stand that was sitting just beyond the camera here and taking up so much space in this room. I'm really, really glad that it is now sold and somebody can be using it because we were using it for storage basically. And now the room is so open. It's been great the way that I have it with the couch facing into the middle of the room. Sometimes Kent will come down and sit and talk to me while I'm working at my computer. So it's just making me super happy. So yeah, so nice to have a nice, beautiful, bright, open room, just how I imagined it. All right. Make sure to go check out Mike and Anna of Stitchcraft and Wizardry. Their podcast should be up over the weekend, but they've got plenty to keep you entertained in the meantime. So make sure to go and check out their channel and subscribe to them. Come back here on Sunday so we can have a live chat together. I think that will be really fun. And other than that, just have a wonderful week, and I will see you again next time. Bye.